Republicans claim to be the party of law and order. You do the crime, you do the time, unless you happen to murder your political enemies. I'm not kidding. Texas Governor Greg Abbott has recently announced that he is looking to pardon a man who murdered a Black Lives Matter activist. Abbott has announced that he is planning to pardon Army Sergeant Daniel Perry. So what did Daniel Perry do? Well, he was convicted last week in the 2020 murder of a man, 28-year-old, a 28-year-old named Garrett Foster, who was legally open carrying a firearm during a Black Lives Matter protest. So this had happened in Austin. Now, Abbott said in a statement that, quote, Texas is one of the strongest stand-your-ground laws of self-defense that cannot be nullified by a jury or a progressive district attorney. I look forward to approving the board's pardon recommendation as soon as it reaches my desk. Wait a minute. Self-defense. Okay. So let me give you the details on what had happened. Perry, who was stationed at Fort Hood, was working a rideshare shift when he decided to drive his car through a red light towards a crowd of people, protesting the police murder of George Floyd. Foster, who was also white, approached the car while he was open carrying his AK-47. That happens to be illegal in Texas, by the way. Perry apparently thought that this was a threat and fatally shot him with a pistol. Now, Perry had previously written in social media posts and text messages about his desire to shoot protesters. And of course, he ended up getting his wish. Here's what he wrote to a friend in June of 2020. Quote, I might have to kill a few people on my way to work. Look, hey, that is very very clear right there. Very, very clear. But then Perry goes and claims, oh, no, I feared for my life. It's self-defense, you see. He was threatening me. He aimed his gun at me, except that he didn't. 28-year-old military veteran had actually been pushing his fiance's wheelchair when, according to witnesses, Perry drove his vehicle into a crowd of protesters when Perry had, again, approached the vehicle in an attempt to communicate with Perry, probably to ask him, what are you doing? Get out of here. What's going on? Perry ended up shooting Foster 5 times with a handgun before then fleeing the scene. Again, if you were defending yourself, why did you flee the scene? Before later surrendering to authorities. Perry then would claim that Foster had raised the gun at him, but that was not corroborated by witnesses. Witness statements, again, contradicted that claim that Foster aimed the weapon, and an inspection of the rifle by investigators found that safety was engaged and the chamber empty at the time of Foster's death. Prosecutors also argued, successfully by the way, that Perry's invocation of self-defense was not applicable to the situation, given that Perry had run a red light and driven into the crowd of protesters, again, after voicing his desire to shoot protesters. I mean, it can't be any more of a clear-cut case that this was not an issue of self-defense. Nonetheless, you had people like Tucker Carlson and Kyle Rittenhouse claiming that Perry is the victim.
So here you have a guy, I don't think there's really any debate. The protester who was killed raised a rifle at him, is exactly what happened with you. How do you think Daniel Perry feels tonight sitting in jail?
I can only imagine. He's probably sitting there wondering what happened. He defended himself. He knows what he did was right. You have a man with an AK-47 and over 120 rounds of ammo on his person, dressed just for war, as some people might say, with that rifle strapped, the AK-47, raising it towards Daniel Perry, who is in flip-flops and beach shorts, carrying a revolver. And nobody wants to talk about that. Nobody wants to mention that he was armed. I see a lot of reports just saying he fired indiscriminately into a crowd and he drove into a bunch of rioters. They don't want to talk about how he was swarmed, how his car was swarmed with a bunch of rioters trying to attack him.
That entire segment it's just nothing but absolute gaslighting. Oh, they're all violent, horrible rioters. They were swarmed by rioters. No, the guy literally drove through a red light into the protesters. Kind of seemed like he wanted to start something. That's what it looks like to me. Of course. But look, I've said this before. There are people out there that can't wait for a chance to use their gun against someone that they don't like, a political enemy, okay? To put themselves into a position where they can legally, thanks to these stand your ground laws, shoot and kill someone. They can't wait. And look, that's what happened with George Zimmerman. That's what happened with Kyle Rittenhouse, who they were found both not guilty. But this guy was an exception because a jury of his peers found him guilty after 17 hours of deliberation. Now, normally this would be like, hey, look, justice. We got justice, right? Oh, never mind. Greg Abbott comes in and says, no. I'm going to overturn that conviction because I like that he murdered a Black Lives Matter protester. That's what you're telling everyone. That's what you're telling the entire world. Oh, you killed someone that I don't like? Someone who's protesting against police brutality? Good. We like, I'm going to protect you because I don't like those other people. You know, those people. That's what this is about. Now, legal experts immediately called the move unprecedented and a stunning assault on the rule of law, which apparently they don't care about. Former prosecutor Rick Kofor told the Austin American Statement that this is, quote, profoundly wrong and pure politics. District Attorney Jose Garza also said in a statement that a jury gets to decide whether a defendant is guilty or innocent, not the governor. Yeah, but you know, but we think, but I think I know more than the jury. No, you don't. This is nothing more than Abbott, again, doing a very purely political decision to try to defend his base. Look, this is the kind of system that members of the far right want to run in this country. A two-tier justice system where they can and do even, allow people to murder whoever they want and get away with it. Law and order be damned. It doesn't exist in Texas anymore.